have the president's welcome speech, and after that we have group photo. So be ready to switch on your video after our president Dato' Kamaluddin gave his welcome speech. Switch on the video and smile at the camera so that I can capture. Now we have 11 pages. So give us some time to capture all the 11 pages. And then after we capture the photo, then we shall start. We'll introduce the moderator, and moderator will start the segment. So now, please say switch on. No, Dato' Kamaluddin. Kamaluddin, up to you. Over to you for your welcome speech.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 8th forum in our Live to Inspire series in conjunction with our 65th Merdeka Day. This morning, I would like to welcome an old friend of mine, TSri Syed Hamid Albar. Sorry, TSri, I mentioned the word old. Actually, if you remember, in 1993, the launching of MCPM, Malaysian Crime Prevention Foundation, and you were the first chairman of MCPM, and the launching was done by Tun M at the Crystal Palace, if you still remember. Yeah. Anyway, TSri Syed Hamid Albar is a lawyer by profession, politician, and just now probably he has a legal firm. Yeah. He began his career in the judicial and legal service as a magistrate in 1970 and was appointed president of the Session Court in 1971. He has also served as minister in the Prime Minister's Department, de facto Minister of Justice, where he was the, I just mentioned to you just now, was the first chairman of Malaysian Crime Prevention Foundation. And also he was at one time Minister of Defense, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Minister of Home Affairs under former Prime Minister Mahathir and Abdullah Ahmad Badawi from October 1990 to April 2009. He also served as Member of Parliament for Kota Tinggi from November 1990 to May 2020. He had also served as the Chairman of Land Public Transport Commission, SPAD, which has been dissolved. TSri Syed Hamid is currently an adjunct professor of 3 universities, namely University Kebangsaan Malaysia, University Malaya, and also University Melaka, as well as chairman of the OIC study group. And he's a current chairman of WIEF, World Islamic Economic Forum. Dr. Syed Hamid has contributed books, essays, and articles to national, regional, international media and academic journals. He appeared in many political and current affairs programs on BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, as well as with local TV channels. TSri Hamid and I happen to be a karya of MSUA, yeah, our masjid, Sayyidah Umar Al-Khattab, and nearly every morning we will be chatting on current issues. More often than not, we will seek his opinion as he is the minister of, he was the minister of all his previous ministries, putting together question on home affairs regarding the security or the scandalous affairs in defense contract, or even foreign affairs and the war in Ukraine being posted to him. Always TSri maintain his poise and diplomacy when giving his views. You may try him with some difficult and problematic question later. Good luck. TSri, you are certainly the right person at the right time to be our most distinguished guest today in conjunction of our 65th Merdeka Day 2022. Thank you very much, TSri. Let me now hand over it back to our MC, Gary.
Thank you very much, Dato' Kamaluddin, for that welcome speech. And also, we discover new things about TSri from your sharing. Welcome, thank you. All right, so everyone get ready for group photo. Switch on your video and smile at the camera. I know you need to smile for a bit because there are many pages for me to take the photo on.
Hold your smile.
Yes, yeah. So gallery share screen and okay, so smile. Okay. Page 1. Okay, with page 2. We have 12 pages to go. Okay, smile. Next page. Get ready and smile. Next page. Get ready and smile. Next page. All right, get ready and smile. Next page. Get ready and smile. Wow, we have many here. Thank you for switching on the video. So next page. Smile. Okay, next page. Get ready and smile. All right, next page and smile. Next page and smile. Next page, smile. Towards the last page now. Smile. All right, thank you all so much for your beautiful smiles.
Good.
Okay. So next on the agenda is I will introduce the moderator. So I will share with you a bit of her background. So our moderator for today is Ui Swan Kim, is the principal of the law firm O.S. Kim and Associates, a legal firm specializing in corporate, commercial, company, land, family, estate, and criminal law, mainly in securities and corporate fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. She's a barrister at law of Lincoln's Inn. Kim holds an LLB from University of Sheffield. Kim completed her bar training at Inns of Court of Law, now known as City University of London. Kim is a certified compliance professional with training from University of Manchester, a commissioner for oaths, and a RIC accredited mediator, just like me, also a mediator. Kim sits on the panel of the Disciplinary Committee pursuant to the Legal Professions Act 1976. Kim has moderated BGAM very first Live to Inspire series where our distinguished speaker, Tun Hanif Omar, our fourth IGP, longest serving IGP in Malaysia, on Merdeka Day last year, this very day, 1 year ago. Kim is a winner of the British Council Study UK Alumni Awards in 2017. She was appointed as the judge for the Study UK Alumni Awards from year 2018 to 2020. Wow. Kim is also the representative from Malaysia in the British Government Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, FCDO, International Leadership Program in 2017. She was selected by the Commonwealth as Commonwealth Observer at the 2018 Zimbabwe presidential election, and Kim represented Malaysia to speak at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, or known as CHOGM, in 2018 in London, alongside with global leaders and heads of states. Juggling her times between her legal practice, where Kim resolves dispute effectively with experiences up to apex court, Kim is author for LexisNexis, Practical Guidance for Corporate Law module in the Companies Act 2016. And she sits on the board of advisors for the School of Law of the Universities of Sheffield, and is the treasurer for the Inns of Court Malaysia. She's also a passionate advocate in biodiversity, sustainability, and climate change. Kim speaks globally in international conferences and summits. In fact, recently I attended a conference at the Police Academy or together with MCPF. She was one of the panel speakers. Yeah. So representing BGAM and also the public. So let's put our hands together to Kim. Kim, I hand it over to you for your session and for you to moderate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary, and thank you very much, Datuk Kamaruddin. Hello, everybody, and happy 65th Independence Day, Malaysia and BGAM. So excited to be here moderating this Merdeka session with TSri Syed Hamid Albar. I must say that I'm extremely honored to be the moderator for not one but two already for the Merdeka series. It's something very profound, and it's something where I hold deep in my heart because we're all Malaysians. We went through different experiences to get to where we are today, and today is no different. It's 65 years of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and here we are, united and ready to take on, to be bolder and to be united and courageous to bring Malaysia to greater heights. So thank you very much for Datuk Kamaruddin's vision in organizing this Live to Inspire series, specifically for this Merdeka Talk series. The first one, yes, the Tun Hanif Omar, the 4th IGP of Malaysia. And then the second one was Tengku Razali, and then follow on with all the various professionals like Dr. John and all. But this one, especially the Merdeka one, it features very stellar, prominent, illustrious statesmen. So TSri Syed Hamid Albar is one of our Malaysia's illustrious statesmen, which I think we can start if TSri is ready.
Yes. You're
Awesome.
most welcome, Kim. Thank you.
Okay, without much ado, TSri, Datuk Kamaruddin has actually read out your most illustrious and prolific profile. I had the opportunity to chance at TSri's Twitter page, and on 3rd August, you had this to say: life has its own twists and turns. We are in it, thus, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Be afraid of growing old and still not learning. Such wise words, TSri. This is true wisdom extraordinaire. With that in mind, TSri, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, your growing up years, your family life, your schooling years. Floor is all yours, TSri.
Thank you, Madam Moderator Kim. You're such an illustrious moderator. It's very difficult for me to start. Let me start by saying good morning to everyone. Thank you to Datuk Kamaruddin for his kind words and introduction. On vision for me to share my life, which I've always thought leading out of the face, things that it's useful to share with others, but generally it's an even keel and all sort of things. So I think you have given me a great honor on this 65th Merdeka. And I think I should start by saying, happy Merdeka. Merdeka is so special before I start my life story. You know, every one of us, when we talk about Merdeka, I think we look at it differently. We have got different impression, and it means different things to different people. So that makes it the spice of life, of building a nation. So that makes it, give us the opportunity. You know, when I was born, people always associate me with Johor. I was born actually in Penang. I was born in Penang, in Kampung. At that time, it was a kampung. Now, when I go back to that place, it's full of skyscrapers, a lot of flats and apartments. And my old house that I was born, kampung house with a lot of, the kampung fruit trees, are no longer there. There's been extension. So, but I have never associated myself with Penang. The reason being is that our family are mostly in Johor. I do not know. This one, I am still perplexed. I'm still at a loss. It's still a mystery. How two of us, me and my younger brother, the 7 and 8 child, was born in Penang. Because, I was told, I do not know because I cannot verify. As a lawyer, I would like to verify, but I cannot verify the authenticity of my story. My father and mother, because of my siblings were all either born in Johor or Singapore. There's a favorite thing people in Johor, when they want to give birth, they go to hospital Kandang Kerbau in Singapore. And then they register the birth in Johor. So, but in my case, during the war, somehow or other, because my my elder sibling actually, passed away in a very mysterious way. So my mother was very badly affected. And even though we come from a family of 12, 6 boys and 6 girls, with one mother, it's not one mother, 6 boys, 6 girls. I think my mother was married at 14, and today it can never happen. And so then I think during the war, he decided to move to the north. He went to Kedah. He went to Penang. During the short stay in Penang, I was born in 1944 on the 15th of January. And my mother said he was an Idealist. He was such a fantastic child. So I always get myself very proud of that. Then we went to the family. My father decided, by the persuasion of his friends, to move to Kelantan in the mid-40s. 1940s. So we moved to Kelantan because my father was a teacher when he was in Singapore. He was a teacher in the Madrasah Al-Junaid. He was schooled in Madrasah Al-Junaid. He became a teacher there. He teaches Arabic and Arabic language and Arabic literature. Then he went as the headmaster of an Arabic school in Kelantan. That's how we call Islah Arabic School. There's another one called Islah English School. So they are always in competition between the Arabic. Then subsequently, when my father wanted to continue, then the British, because my father is quite a prolific speaker, orator, he is a great, enabler, influence maker, So they offered him to join the British Information Department. So he refused, and I think his teaching permission or teaching license was withdrawn. Then he is without a job. Then somehow or other, I think Syed Hadi and Dato' On or something remembered him and asked him to come back to go back to Johor. So we went back to Johor, and I started my early life in Johor. I went back to Johor, became the first, assistant information chief, paid information employee of UMNO. He was there, and at the same time, in order to top up, because we're not rich, and he writes, he contributes articles, he teaches, sometimes he teaches even Quran to add some income to our very, very big family, So I think that's, and then I went to primary school. I thought I was going to end up as an ustad because I was doing very well in the religious school. Because Johor is very good with religious. So that's how my simple life started. And I think all my primary school. Then Merdeka came in 1957. At that time, I was only 13. Then my father, moved to Kuala Lumpur. Then my father also had to be shipped out or shipped up to Kuala Lumpur. So all of us moved to Kuala Lumpur. I think our first place that we stayed was in Jalan Raja Mahmud, Kampung Baru. So, and I think most of my secondary school, I was in Kuala Lumpur. Then from Kuala Lumpur, that I moved to Australia to study. Then I moved to UK to study, and all these things. So it's nothing, you know. But I was guided in my life. Can I still speak, Kim? Or you want to stop me? You see, because I have got a there is no full stop when I start to speak.
No full stop, like a true advocate.
Okay. No, I'm not. I'm
Just go
very
on.
a poor advocate, not like you. So my life actually is guided by certain torches or light or philosophy. I always thought that, you know, your life must be covered by a few principles in life. So I'm always idealistic because of that. And because of my idealism, I get into trouble a lot of times. And so the principles of life that I usually guide myself is to on until you can't do it anymore. So that's why I got my I got my barrister at law, and then I went back to school after going to university in Australia. Then when I finished my bar, then I say, oh, since I finished my bar, there is no necessity for me to do my LLB, which I regretted throughout my life. So then when I came back at the age of, I think 67 or like that, I started to do my PhD. And then at the age of 74, I was doing my master's in political science. So I've got complete barrister, master's, and then PhD. So this is the thing, never give up. But the most important thing is to be honest to yourself, have integrity, be diligent and hardworking, have honesty, have loyalty, and then your life must be guided by selflessness and be loyal. And I think life and moral sense of duty. When I'm given today, so I'm one of those fellows. Just now, Dato' Kamarudin mentioned that I was minister de facto. Actually, in my case, I was not de facto minister of justice. I was actually cabinet. Dr. Mahathir decided to reform the Minister of Justice. So they formed back the Minister of Justice. Then after that, I asked, I don't like the word justice, as if I'm interfering with the judiciary. So I asked the cabinet through Dr. Mahathir, I think it upset him anyway, when I said, why don't we change it to Minister of Law? So we did Minister of Law until I retired. Then until I was transferred to another ministry, then they abolished again the ministry. JP is in charge of law. So I was introduced to life. So, and I believe I believe in institution. I believe in collective responsibility. I believe in loyalty, camaraderie, and loyalty to certain policies. If you, as a cabinet minister, cannot stand, I had a very nasty experience when I told minister, I wouldn't like. If you cannot abide by collective responsibility, then you shouldn't be in the cabinet, because there are two choices. Either you stay in the cabinet, or if you disagree and your disagree is on principle of conscience, then you should resign. And this is true to the British education that I got. Look, because of the British education, you see, the British education has taught us that, like things like, my word is my bond, things like, diplomacy, honesty, speak your mind, and also I think not everything British that I agree, but I
The
think
gentleman's agreement, right? Tan Sri?
values, you know. So that's
Gentleman's
how okay, Kim, I know, I hope I have given you some of the features about, you know. So my family life, when I was there, I think I was away for some time, you know, overseas. My mother, her greatest worry was who I am going to get married. She's always worried about my marriage. So I was doing my final.
Rightly so, Tan Sri. As a woman, she must be worried and concerned. Well done to your mom.
My mom, so she called me on my promise when I was a little boy. I said, you know, when I get married, you know what I told her. I said, you know, she said, no, you are doing your final. Then I think I want to get somebody to marry you. She was more worried that I will be marrying to one of, I do not know when, you know, I've got a lot of friends, you know. So then she chose my wife, and I was 24 and doing my final. I told my wife, you know, I think in good humor, and I said, you know, you took a very great risk. At that time, I was not even qualified. And a lot of my law colleagues failed in the bar. There is a lot of failures.
The bar finals, yeah.
So the fatality rate is very high on the bar because of your system. So then she said, you know, I have to take a risk. And she was 17, I was 24.
That's wonderful.
And now we end up with 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. So I think we have always taught, my father always taught us, you know, be humble, don't use or my position or me being known, well known. You know, you don't know she joined. Yes.
So good to see you.
So so because of that, my father never allowed me to use his name to get into anything, to get into a position or to be given special treatment or to use branded or designers things. So we have to use all the cheap things that money can buy, that we can afford. Don't spend more than. And I think my mother also was, my father was not doing well. She never complained. When our life was difficult, he was an information chief going around the country, leaving my mother to manage all the kids, you know, how many kids. And I do not know how she managed. Sometimes we don't have enough money even to buy and to get credit from the mama shop, we call it kaka shop in Johor. So, but she never complained. But when it's my father, you know, get better in life, he makes sure he pays her back for her loyalty, or, you know, staying, not complaining about anything. So now my children behave in the same way. They never want to use my name, never want to introduce to their friends or anybody that, you know, they are the son of somebody. So and they get a bit annoyed when somebody say, hey, you know, this fellow is the son or daughter of. So that I'm grateful and thankful. I think because humility is the thing that we are missing, you know. So in today's Merdeka celebration, this one I can share with you, 65 years of Merdeka. This is the first time actually, maybe because of your program, this first time in the Merdeka parade that I'm not invited. Can you believe it? I was a bit disappointed. I said, how can I not invited? I was not invited, but never mind. I think this is our country. The substance and the essence of our Merdeka is how do you make ourselves become a family, to be a family? What is the meaning of family? You know, family means you accept, embrace differences and you build together. And, you know, so I think, Kim, you know, I've been talking too much. So maybe you like to interject or intervene.
Yes, very well, Tan Sri. I must say that we're all here blessed that because you're not at any other events, you are here with us, right, Tan Sri? So
Yes,
that in itself gives us a cause to celebrate. Thank you, Tan Sri, that you choose to spend your Merdeka morning with us, BGAM.
Thank you.
Next, Thank you. I believe you were just 13 years old when Malaysia gained independence from Britain.
Yes.
How did you feel at that time? Was it like a sense of euphoria? What went through your mind as a young teenager, TSri?
At that stage, if I tell you that I have euphoria, then I'm lying. The only thing that I know is that I feel a sense of being free, that we are going to have our own country. And my father was a fiery speaker. And all sorts of things. He always inculcate nationalism, sense of patriotism. So I share that. So I think, because of that, it's a feeling of, to be free, it means for me, at that time at 13, I have to move to Kuala Lumpur. From Johor, I have to move to Kuala Lumpur. And then I think I was glad that we can call ourselves at that time Persekutuan Tanah Melayu or Federation of Malaya, and we are no longer a British protectorate, so to speak. We were never colonized in that manner. We were more a protectorate state. In 1948, when Britain was trying to make it a colony, it didn't go in Land Union, I think in 1946 or what. Then it didn't go through, and it became a federation. And from that federation, we are one of the countries that have been fast-tracked for our independence. And we have to ask ourselves, why are we fast-tracked for independence? Because we were showing that we are willing to compromise and accommodate. We were willing to create a national unity. We were willing to create peace and harmony, even though at that time, some people were, I was reading one of the speeches in the British Parliament in Hansard that say that, Malaysia will be worse than Sri Lanka, it will become a failed state. That became a challenge. Alhamdulillah, until now, Malaysia, we have problem, but we have done very well. That's how, if you talk about euphoria, that type of euphoric has evolved in my life slowly and until I mature into a person who understands better.
Well said, TSri. I like what you said earlier about loyalty, humility, and collective responsibility. I think these are sort of the values that you also adopted from through somewhat TSri's British education, being your first training at the bar, TSri. Was it instinctive or gradual that you chose law? Was it, that you always wanted to be a lawyer because you were so good at debating? Or was it something that you saw your late dad also going through the various, challenges and also opportunities, and you thought that law could provide you with that opportunity to really harness that skills and to shape your leadership characteristics and trait, TSri?
I like your question. It's a very, it looks very innocent, but it can put me into whether it is gradual or instinctive. Let me put it this way. I don't know, somehow or other, from the day, according to my mother, from the day that I learned to speak, what came out of my mouth? She said, I told her that I want to be a judge. I meant not jadi hakim. And I've always been imbued with this, my own perception of justice. How there is a tendency of human beings persecuting, marginalizing others. So I always want to deliver justice, because through justice, I can practice humanity. Law is not important to me. The most important thing is justice. Without law, you still need to do justice. So, is justice the interpretation of the law? So I think, if you ask me, I think it's more instinctive. So when I started doing economic and politics, then I gave up. in the Monash University. I didn't do well because I hate the graph. I hate the accountancy paper that I have to do. Sorry, some of you are, very good economists or accountant. I only appreciate economics and all this reading because after I joined banking and finance, then I learned how important the subject. But while studying, I said, no, I better go to UK. I go to UK. I say I do not want to go and get myself into university or to do. So I went to, funny enough, because I'm trying to relate it to instinctive or evolutionary, or gradual. I went to before the British, you see, this is again British education. I was already 19 or 20. You can't go to normal school. So they have a school that I could go to and start my secondary school back. I went to what is called College of Further Education in Oxford. So until now, I have got soft spot for Oxford. I am not as lucky as Stephen or as clever as Stephen to go to Oxford. So I went to Oxford College of Further Education, the Polytechnic, Haddington Polytechnic, which is now the Oxford Brookes University, one of the top private university. I went there, and within 6 months, I gave myself a time. I took, you see, this is where Britain, they asked me to write an essay, They asked me to write an essay in English. So I wrote an essay to text. For your information, I don't speak English very well because my able, and I got, what brought me down in my school certificate was I got 8 for my English, and I can't do law. If I got 8 English, it means I failed. So, and then the teacher asked me, can you write an essay in English? I wrote. So then, the teacher was very nice. This is, again, British diplomacy. He said, Mr. Albar, I cannot correct your grammar. Your grammar is perfect. But some of the expression you use is not very English. You understand what I mean? Because Malaysians sometimes we speak English, we don't realize. And some of the expressions that we use are not actually English, but Malaysian English. Like I write to you. The English will never say I write to you. I write you. There is no to and all sort of thing. Much influenced by our own environment. So then I say, okay, I'm willing to learn. So I have to take Oxford O-level. And it was more difficult than taking the English in Kuala Lumpur, because there you are marked and just not as a foreign student, but as one of the English students. But fortunately, I got through because in order to allow me to go. Another subject that I took, which my principal did not like, he said, what is there? I took constitutional law, I took British economic, I took economic history, I took economic because I'm familiar with the subject. Then I took another subject that is called religious knowledge, Bible. So my principal called me, Mr. Albar, I do not know how you want to get through this Bible because we don't have a teacher to teach you. I said, sir, I think I can teach myself. Because in Oxford, there are so many bookshops. And I love walking in Oxford, go to the bookshop, buy and all sorts. You can get old books quite cheap, So I got my book. When I passed, I got a very good grade. First, I passed my O-level in Christianity. Secondly, I passed my A-level in Christianity. So very good grounding. So then I went to see him to write me testimonial. The English part. This is the English part. Even though I argued with him, he told me, congratulations, you have done very well. I told you I'm going to fail, but you have proved that you can do it. And he wrote me a very nice testimonial to allow me to go to the Inns of Court. So I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I'm not a person who is good at record keeping. I didn't keep a copy of it. I kept none of the copies of those things people write about me, like Tun Ahmad Saji, Allah Yarham Tun Ahmad Saji used to tell me, some of the things that you have done and all, the acclamation that you get, you should have kept a copy of it. I got another one from which I always remember in all my heart by Justice H.T. Ong, C.T. Ong. Some lawyers complain about my behavior while I was sitting as a president of Sessions Court or something like that. Then he asked for my file. After he asked for my file, he wrote back to me, Dated, dear Syed, you have done very well. Exercise your law and your justice without fear or favor. And that sticks to my mind. Until now, I will speak my mind. I'm not popular. I speak my mind, though, in order to make sure that I will convey how I feel, and that may be reflective of how people feel about things. So, but I don't advise the young generation to do the same thing as I do, because it's very difficult and tough journey if you take that route. Okay.
Yes. Speaking of justice and law, I do see that idealistic image forming already through the past 25 minutes or so, TSri. So as an idealist that you just mentioned, and that justice is actually more important, right? Because it's always the substance rather than the form.
Yeah.
What is TSri's views then about the way moving forward? Because you started your profession as a magistrate, and then you became Sessions Court president. So did you thought of always sticking on to the judiciary, Badan Kehakiman, with hindsight?
Hindsight, you ask me, and I think my wife would agree with me. I should have stuck to my judiciary, because then I would be able, because I think the most important thing in judiciary is you dispense justice, and you do justice to others. You don't have, what other people may say about what you do and the outcome of your decision. You must make sure that you are true to yourself. And in the first place, you must uphold the law. Uphold the law in order for you to interpret justice, not at your whims and fancy. I would have stayed, you remember Tun Zaki,
Yes.
Zaki, we were together as President Sessions Court in Court Hill. So we were at the same time, I think, but at that stage, I think I have got about one child or two children. When I joined the service, my salary was 592 plus
592.
COLA, 592. Then I have the Harun report came, Harun Commission report. I get 750 plus. But there I have to rent a house. I have to maintain my wife and children, my child, and all these things I think bothered me. So I decided I think I better leave, and I have always been a person, because of our heritage and background, interested in finance, banking, trade, and so on. Because our heritage is we are all teachers, traders, all this sort of thing. That's how we move from one place to another, like that. So that will be independent. None of my children joined the government, so it's the same thing. So I left. I left because of that. And I think if you want me to remake my life, I would join the judiciary. Especially now, I like to see that,
By now, you would have been probably, hearing one of the epic appeals of the century.
You are provoked.
Huh? But I think, the age is 66. Retirement is 66.
They call it what? Destructive age. We are moving to what age is that? Destructive age. This is an era that whoever want to uphold the law and uphold justice must have the courage and the willingness, and don't fear anything. So the rest, you leave it to God. You just do what is necessary for you in order to honor what our forefathers have decided, that we are going to build this country based on the constitution, based on democracy, on parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy. This is important for us. And I think the judges is the core factor. They are the core factors will ensure and safeguards our life and our future.
Absolutely, TSri. I for one, I was looking at your background, and you chose Middle Temple as the inn of choice, TSri. Was it a sort of a instinctive reaction, or was it a reason why you chose Middle Temple? Middle Temple, I mean, as we know, it's at that time probably not so popular with the Malaysians. It was either Inner Temple, like Tunku Abdul Rahman, or Lincoln Sin,
Yeah.
Tun Abdul Razak, Tun Hussein On.
Oh.
So yeah, what was that story about Middle Temple? Because they do have a very exciting history as well with
You know,
yeah.
I was a student leader all my life. I was a student activist. So I've been involved in some of my student activities. Because of that, I get into trouble also as an activist. So, you know,
Upholding the rule of law and democracy and human rights. That's a good reason to get into trouble for.
yeah, because I think I always, you know, I even went to my teacher, which he failed me subsequently in my subject in politics. I told him, you know, you may be very good, but you know, you have got the necessary qualification, which I shouldn't do. I think on hindsight, I think I was wrong. I told him, you know, it's no use if you cannot communicate well, and you know, I can't learn from you. So what I need is to be able to absorb knowledge from you. You know, so I think, well, he was very upset with me, and I think rightly so. You know, so after that, I don't interfere with my lecturers or professors. I think that's a wrong move for me to make. You know, you asked me why I chose Middle Temple. So I think, and we moved together, we walked together, we socialized together. I hear that every law student want to go to Lincoln Inn. Every Malaysian Lincoln Inn. I say I want to be different. I don't want to go to Lincoln Inn. So I went to see our Pak Wan, and then Wan Baharudin. He was a students welfare officer in the Malaysia in the students department. I went to see him. But when I want to enter the Inns of Court, but I don't want to go to the normal inns that Malaysians go to. And where do you want to go? I say I want to go to Grace Inn. You know, my ambition. I say I want. So what his reaction to me was, hey, Syed, you know, this Grace Inn is the inns of the elite, pompous fellows and all sort of thing. Why should you go there? So I like to go there. I think it's, you know, and not many Malaysians are there. I do not know whether there was any Malaysian or not. So he refused to write anything for me to go to or apply, not for me to. He said, no, I suggest you go to Middle Temple. I said, why Middle Temple? Then he explained, I do not know whether right or not. Middle Temple, you see, is very good because, you know, at that time, during my day, there are a lot of Greeks and Turk Cypriot. There are two opposing groups in Middle Temple. I said, inner are all the political activities. You shouldn't go to Inner Temple. You go to Middle Temple. It's more sober, more reasonable. So then I said, okay, sir, if that is how you think you know, that's where I should go, then I agree with him. It's not actually my knowledge or choice. So I just say, okay.
Yeah.
You know, the obedient student. Before, our students department was our guide, our helping hand. They were fantastic. They guide us and listen to our problems, and they place us in the places that they think we should go to.
So it was the part one that actually sealed the fate of Middle Temple in that sense.
Yes, that's correct. He's
Also,
no longer around, but he's such a darling. He's a fantastic person.
I was going to get to the part where our Chief Justice, Yang Ahmad Arif Tun Tengku Maimun, She was just elected as an honorary overseas bencher of Middle Temple. You're in, TSri. It's very impressive.
So I think we should congratulate her. It's not that easy to be,
Absolutely.
So I think she has done very well in getting that position. It's a recognition. I think it's important. It's not a recognition of what she does. It's recognition for what she is as a, as a judicial officer. And I remember another person who is very famous person, if you can recollect, was Tun Ismail.
Yes.
Tun Ismail, Allah Yarham, the governor of Bank Negara.
Yes.
And I was working as his secretary when we formed the Institute of Bankers. I was the one that formed that and then I was seconded as the secretary. And I had to work with Tony Smith, a very difficult person to work with. And his English is superb. And if I do the minutes, he will check the commas, the dots, and also I think my grammar. That's where I learned. Actually, those persons whom you always think are very tough and difficult, these are the people that actually guide. And I think like a rough diamond, sometimes if you consider yourself diamond or any gems, is the people that really clean you up and shape, craft you into to be a better person. Not that I consider myself a better person, but I think I learn a lot. I learn to be, to adjust myself and to work with very tough person. And that helped me to become a slightly better person than I was.
Oh, that is true humility, TSri.
No.
Thank you. So what do you think about the epic appeal of the century for the grounds of decision on 23rd of August by the Federal Court, TSri? Was it the justice that you thought, that you hoped for?
This is not a very popular question,
Not a very popular question.
Some people, but popular question with the masses. But let me put it this way. I believe that decisions or grounds of judgment are made when it goes on appeal, looking at the facts and the law.
Absolutely.
And at the end of it, the justice that you want to achieve. And that justice will give us the position, ensure our stability, assure the confidence of the people. So it's not, you have to separate, when you want to make a decision, you have to separate emotions. Judges have to be neutral. They don't belong to anybody. They have to be objective. They don't belong to any political party or any. And I think our judges have been very, very nice, actually. There are a lot of contempt issues that the judges and some of our practicing lawyers do. You must go back to our values and ethics, in order for us to accept when we appear in court, we may win or lose a case.
Right.
But you never go against the institution or the system. Because it's that human opinion, yes, it is an opinion, but you must not make implications or try to suggest there is something beyond that. There are times that we will win, there are times that we lose. You must remember, as human beings, we are all capable and have our shortcomings and weaknesses. And these shortcomings and weaknesses are not only among the lowly people, even people at the highest level can have shortcomings, weaknesses that can put them into trouble. The thing that distinguishes us is our values, our civilizational attitudes, our morals and ethics. So I think the judges under difficult circumstances, it's not easy, because these are all, I think it's a very explosive cases. difficult cases, they make their decisions on what they consider right. I'm not saying that they may not be wrong, but what they consider right at the time, and they have made that decision. And I think we must respect. That's how the system and the country is sustained. When we talk about sustainability, I think in sustainability, institution must be protected. People must be protected through the institutions. And I look at that way. Kim, I'm sorry if people, after this, I will be all kinds of very nasty remarks. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm already 78. I want to see my country move further, my country move further, and people will respect our country and remember us for the right thing we do, not for the wrong thing that we do.
Absolutely. Well said. Very well said, TSri. And on this, your commitment to lifelong learning and knowledge is really commendable. So as Datuk Kamaruddin earlier mentioned, you're adjunct professor of law for 3 different universities, UKM, University Malacca, and chairman of the OIC study group. I was privileged enough to actually chance upon your speech during the Majlis Penyerahan Watikah Pelantikan Professor Adjunct Faculty Undang-Undang of UKM. It was quite recent,
Yes.
just early last year. And TSri had this to say, which is very impressive. Today is the culmination of my waiting and anxiety, whether I'm going to be or not to be. So that's Shakespeare's Hamlet. A Seattle philosopher also said, knowledge speaks, but wisdom listens. Whilst Socrates said, the only true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. True wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. Now that's very interesting. You chose all these words at your Majlis Penyerahan Watikah Pelantikan. What is your thoughts going around how Malaysia is moving forward in terms of its political scenarios now in 2022 and moving forward, TSri?
We are in an age of turmoil and post-modernity where there is, and we are driven by technology, we are driven by AI, and I think it is important in our case, let us be humble. People want to engage their leaders who are humble, who are able to understand them, engage them, and see their problems. That's why I say, actually you know nothing. Where you are and what you want to do, not because of your fantastic knowledge or your possession of knowledge, but how you understand the people. They are the one with knowledge, what they want the country to be. And I think nation building requires the participation, or the function of it is assembling all these different components so that it can become a whole component that is functioning and workable and pragmatic for the type of society that we live in. So I think at present, sometimes there is that will avoid us to get into controversy. You have chosen to be a leader, whoever it is. Once you have chosen to be a leader, you must remember that you do not belong to yourself anymore. You are no longer the personal asset of your family. But the Keluarga Malaysia, it means that you belong to the public. You belong to the masses. When you talk about you belong to the masses, there is that caveat. You must have accountability. You must have sense of responsibility to ensure you create the necessary balance to deliver what the public expect from you. That's what I meant.
Oh, that's really wonderful. It's really profound and deep. And then I also chanced upon another sentence that you said, knowledge has no value except that which can be gained from its application towards some worthy end. The fundamentals of knowledge, law, and justice, as stated in some Sufi traditions, that knowledge is the beacon and light for humankind to find the path of virtue and righteousness, while law is the regulatory instrument to live as an individual, member of society and nation, and justice is the way to protect the innocent. Very good words, you know, Tan Sri, very deep. And these are exactly the kind of words that inspires all the future students that are listening in to you during this Majlis. Would you like to share a little bit on how, because earlier on you said our country is in turmoil. Those are very, very strong words as well, as turmoil. But would you think that as a country matures, it is inevitable that we go through all of these and we will always emerge stronger? And we will always come out, you know, better than yesterday. Because in a way, yeah, we can have peace and prosperity after going through various challenges if we persevere and we are very patient about it. Your thoughts, Tan Sri?
Okay, thank you, Kim. What I said just now actually is this. I think we are living in a world where there is a lot of turbulence, there is a lot of turmoil everywhere. But the difference between one country and people from another is how they manage those. They manage in order to create an environment that is conducive and can embrace the differences and allow us. You know, when you face problems, it is only when you face problems, you face challenges, that you can come out better. You know, a person is stronger if you have gone through failures.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you need to go through all these things. I think these are all, you know, my son told me in one of his interviews. I heard he was saying, all this what we are doing, yeah, we have problems, yes, we accept. But these are all work in progress. Remember that, you know, the essence, the substance of our country is that all this work in progress is part of nation building. Don't be disappointed or disillusioned. You know, we are going through difficult time, but I am sure if all of us remain united and all of us have built up our resilience well enough, inshallah, we'll come out the better of it. You know, you have learned more things, you have built the resistance within you, the resilience within you, so you can face any possibilities or any eventualities. Don't worry. Malaysia is a multiracial, multicultural, multi-religious society. Our challenges are different. Don't think, you know, we must be able to put all these things into the crossword puzzle, you know, to piece it together, and then you will come into one complete whole. But we must look at it in terms of its historical, geographical context. Then everybody can contribute. If we have differences, don't worry, differences are normal. Let us not shut out people who have got differences. Let us build everything together. And start to embrace that we can work together and we can build a better Malaysia, even though now we see that we are polarized, we are all these things. But when I go to the workplace, I suddenly started to have a different view of how the young look at themselves in this country. It's still old, sometimes with nostalgia, they talk about, oh, it was better before. When you start to talk, it was better before, that means you are getting old. Young, they are able to face the challenges and they are working together. You see it, you know, when I see them talking to each other, when I see them at restaurants, we are enjoying, you know, we are like a salad bowl. How do salad bowls, you know, salad, make it made in a, you know, it tastes better because you mix it. But they don't lose their original form. And because of that, we become better. The salad tastes better. Malaysia will become better. We will be able to, but don't be over passive. Don't be totally accepting everything that somebody say is right. Start to think. I think we need people, I was doing my political science on Ibn Khaldun. It is based on development, is to have people who are creative, innovative, critical. You need to have all this. Then only we see a better Malaysia. We are not the same like other countries, Ours is, there is a thin line between one race or ethnic group and something. We always feel, oh, we are marginalized, others is better, we don't get. Everybody in this country give up something. We give up something, we accept something, we compromise something in order for us to see a better Malaysia. But don't give up. We need to work together. And then Malaysia will be more fantastic. And we have done very well in the 65 years. Yes, we have problems, but we have actually gone through the rivers, sometimes rough, sometimes we go into the deep ocean and seas, but we will come out of it if we sail through properly and learn how to manage the storm. Storm over the clouds is a common thing now. Everywhere there are problems,
Very, very well said. Absolutely agree on that, TSri, 110%. So
Thank you.
okay, we have actually corralled out the barrister part in you, the judicious judge part in you. Now I would like now to think and to go deeper into that economist and banker part in you, TSri. As a jurist and a scholar, you published an article late in 2021 titled A Perspective on International Law. And that article explores the evolution and the role of contemporary international law vis-a-vis international politics. It considers how these rules and norms regulate conduct of states and other entities in their relations, internally and externally, and how these polemics between different scholars on the nature of international law and its aspects to achieving peace, justice, prosperity, and freedom for all. Having come full circle, TSri, in terms of your training, background, education, and experiences in the judiciary, in politics, in the cabinet, and also now in practice, right? What are your thoughts about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of Malaysia as part of the world map amidst the current ongoing Ukraine-Russian war, China-US-Taiwan tensions? What is your thoughts about our country? Its strengths, its weaknesses. How can we sort of maneuver our way and come out actually a winner as well amidst all of these global chaos that's happening?
Thank you, Kim, for your very deep and penetrating question. Let me put this way, I'm actually a non-believer on international law, because I think international law is not based on the value of right and wrong. Or when you talk about norms of who set the norms, who set the value. So it is still, I believe in international law is always, might is always right. So I'm all excited with what we are going to see, the new world order. You remember after the Second World War, we talk about never again on the Holocaust, on the genocide. I mean, last week I was in Bangladesh. I was speaking as a keynote speaker on genocide, remembrance of genocide of the Rohingya. And I think this never again keep on happening after the World War II. There are so many issues of genocide. And our application of international law has always been selective and double standard. Then after World War, we had what we call, we started with the bipolar. If you can remember, we had the bipolar between Russia and US. Both are quite, Then we moved to the unipolar, where people people say that American punya Pax Americana will never end, then we move. And I think then we are going back to multipolar. It's going to be very exciting. The economy is going to be exciting, even though it's a difficult time. I think internally it's difficult time, but our trade has done very well. So we need to do some structural changes to ensure that our currency is strong. In order to do that, we must create some structural changes of our macroeconomics. The micro part. If you have your good GDP, this good GDP is very good for reporting figures of GDP growth of so much, but does it trickle to the Malaysian masses? How do their ability to spend, their ability to buy things, their ability to live, whether the standard of living has been reduced, their poverty level. So I think this is the time that we must project. Our trajectory should be there is stability, and political stability is important for you to draw up an economic plan that works. And definitely there are certain things that we need to look at, like immediately pandemic has created a new world order. You have to change. Unfortunately, we are still applying the old thinking or always to dealing with new things. The young population is different, and I see that the young population have become very creative. Our lifestyle have changed. We are living as online now. People don't have to cook; they can order food and also I think. But how many can afford to do that? So we need to tackle the poverty question, whether intra or inter-ethnic. The gap is getting wider. This need to be tackled because it's the distribution and the deliveries of to the whole of our community and our racial group. Don't look at Malay, Chinese, Indian. Look at even within this community, there are problems. We need to work together. So I think so long as we don't have, we need to overcome all the scandals, the leakages. I believe that country, if you want to progress, it must be based on rule of law, based on governance, based on parliamentary democracy, and there must be a dominant party that can work, and that dominant party must represent the values of Malaysian, based on honesty, integrity. You don't put a person just because he's popular. I think in that case, you can have a comedian also who is very popular, or I think a court jester, like some country, they put a court jester to be, and then they come up with all sorts of laughable policies that can create problem for them. I think this happens in, that's why I think people like Aristotle and Socrates, I think they feel that democracy is, if not properly managed, will be a very sure agenda for chaos. So I think it is now people are beginning to think that in order for you to develop, in order for you to do, you need strong government and not totalitarian, like Confucius is very clear about it. He says if it is an authoritarian government, if it has got conscience, it benevolent, then it's all right. But I think in our case, we need a government that is that will react to the needs of the people and will do something that will bring benefit to the people. So, of course, I'm already old. I'm out of date, maybe, but I still think this country has got a lot of promise, and we will be on this. Have confidence that we can get out of this situation. But the people must be able to act wisely to place the leaders. Don't think that leaders are made by themselves. Leaders are made by people who choose and elect them. You get the leaders that you choose. So equally, our public can be at fault if we, but please portray a good image of Malaysia, good reputation of Malaysia, so that people like me who goes overseas, I will when I speak, people still consider Malaysians are capable of contributing, like yourself. You're appointed here and there. You speak in the name of Malaysia. When you speak, people see that it's Malaysia, and there is selling point. And this, I think the government must recognize, not only within the government that there are people who can speak for the country, they are outside the government also, there are people who can speak the country and propagate the good values and the things that we can do as Malaysians.
Absolutely, TSri. I think I fully agree with you on this, especially when we are overseas. It doesn't matter wherever we are at any part of the globe. We're so proud to say that we're from Malaysia. And if we hear someone else speaking in Malay, oh my, straight away we will jump and say, oh, where's the nearest place for curry, you know?
You can't have curry kepala ikan lah.
No lah, not the standards of Penang curry kepala ikan for sure, TSri.
Malaysia is such a wonderful, beautiful country. We have a problem, but don't give up this country. Let us work together, build the pieces, and then we will, come back to what we were before.
I like what you said, TSri, about unity and in overcoming challenges, right? Overcoming leakages based on rule of law, parliamentary democracy. These are all the concepts that you really picked up from Britain, I think. And it's, I mean, we are 60 over years old. I would say that we're still quite young.
You are very young compared to me, you know.
I'm not so young already, TSri. I'm reaching middle age. Food for thought, what we can think of is to compromise. Earlier on, you used a word which is very interesting, compromise, give and take. How is that delicate subject be broached on, and what sort of advice that you can give for everyone, masses, on how to compromise? Because you're absolutely right. The concept of human rights actually works is if I respect your human right as well. It's not only a very selfish thought, it is my human right, but I have to respect your human right. So I think it's a lot to do with compromising and tolerance. And how would TSri advise us, given your breadth of experiences and your global knowledge and training, TSri?
We must have our that can converge into shared values. If we do not, what is most important is we have shared values. Then we can say that this is ours. It may begin from different roots. Like my ideas, ideology, and philosophy, while it is influenced by, English common law, sense of equity, but don't forget that English common law, sense of equity, jury system have all got its beginning also from Islam, from the Sharia law. So that's why I mix when I speak. I look at the Sufi concept. I look at the concept of Sharia. What do we want to attain? The most important thing is we want to attain no matter, there are three things that is important. First of all, you must get rid of oppression and repression. You must be able to create trade. That means we do things for the good of generating income and wealth. That is not dependent on race or ethnicity. And then the third one is creating justice so that everyone feels that they are part of it. And finally, all these things are based on knowledge, not ignorance. A lot of us talk and we cannot have a convergent views because if it is based on ignorance. I know that I've been following some of these things, people who burn the Quran, who burn this thing, or Islamophobia, all these things. A lot of them do things that is based on ignorance. Ignorance is never your savior. It's knowledge that is your savior. If you want to talk about convergence, accept the fact that we are multiracial, accept the fact that we are multi-religious, accept the fact that we have got multi-civilizational influence. You know, you must accept the fact that when the Malays started, they started as Hindu. Non-Indian from India come to Malaysia and make the Malays, you know, they were Malays, indigenous, but they were Hindus. Then they moved to Buddhism. They were also Malays. Then they moved to Islam. So all these things are the converging, you finding your roots, you are trying to find your path. But let us not, you know, God in the Quran, God say that if I want to create all of you the same, I have no problem. But I've created you differently, with different beliefs, different tribe, different race, different color. But the difference is that how you practice your that you fear God. So I'm a great believer in this sort of thing. You know, accept our diversity. Don't condemn our country. The last thing that I would do is to condemn my country. I will not condemn my country, even though I don't agree with this or that, because this is a country. There is our saying that the bumi you pijak, the earth that you stand on, and the sky that that covers you is our place. That's the shelter. So I think maybe we must begin with our education system. Let them understand each other better. During my time it's different. We move without talking about it. We can call, hey, it is India, China, but we don't get hurt. But now it become very, but because we are so open, we are so, we are so willing to accommodate each other. That's why I talk about, life is accommodation, compromise. Then only there will be acceptance. Then there will be tolerance. Then there will be harmony. Can you see a music when Chopin or Karang dia punya lagu is all from one note. It's all the diverse note they mix, and then it come into beautiful classical music. And I think we need to do this, start composing ourselves, inculcate the young, not on hate, on our differences, on dislike of each other. We must know the line to be drawn. What is good? Say for example, the Malay tak makan babi. Then respect that, the Malay tak makan babi. Cina makan babi. India something that is neutral. I will not order beef. I will not order things that other people, so that we can. That's what I meant by see that how we can converge and develop shared values among ourselves. And we have got a lot of shared values because we have built this country together.
Very well said, TSri. Again, 110% in agreement.
Thank you.
In absolute agreement with TSri. I think the part on mutual respect, convergence, and how we can all respect one another's differences and celebrate our differences in a melting pot of diverse cultures. That's what makes Malaysia so great.
Special Malaysia.
So special. When I was in London during the CHOGM, I was so proud to say that I was from Malaysia. I had a BBC interview, and the policies that the British, the Commonwealth nations heard about Malaysia, how we're promoting women, for example, women equality, they were so amazed. I mean, this is like world-class, world level type of policies that Malaysia is looking at and implementing. So I think that we should always look towards the bright side. And I love your optimism, TSri. These are all such amazing pearls of wisdom that we can all take on from here.
You are too kind, and thank you. At present, I have got as a chairman of WIEF, we have got two programs that are very important. Our organization, in the first place, is not a theological organization. It's is more of networking, establishing cooperation between different races and religion. And at the same time, we have got two programs that we do on a webinar on a constant basis. We do empowerment of youth in education and empowerment of women. But these two programs is very well received, not only in Malaysia, because our webinar is participated by people all over the world. And our moderator, not necessarily from Malaysia, maybe from other experts from other countries and sort of thing. And we get involved the young, because they are our future. Let us don't think that the old knows everything. Let us get the young so that they can carry on when we go. I consider myself transient already. So the young must.
I think the age diversity is very important, Tan Sri. If it's like just a whole bunch of youngsters, we may be very lost as well.
Yeah.
So the diversity in age is so important, and that's why board-wise the diversity is very important, from the seniors to the juniors, so that the seniors can play a very wise mentorship role and to share your experiences, exactly what you're doing now, Tan Sri. I think it's very healthy. And we love this concept of shared values that you just spoke of, Tan Sri. Moving on, you mentioned a lot about the youth and women, especially in your capacity as chairman of WIEF. So Malaysia recently passed its anti-hopping law and to lower the age of voting. What are your thoughts on that, Tan Sri? In a very holistic view.
Okay. This one, if I can recollect, I was seeing my father's speech in Parliament. At that stage, my father, my late father, he said that this hopping should not be tolerated. He says that you are elected and you have sold yourself to the public to get acceptance based on your party philosophy and ideology. So you shouldn't move. And you cannot base your party or your strand based on people who turn code. And because then it is a sure, and you must, I think it's good that they have passed a law, anti-hopping law. And I think the age of 18, this is where the input is important. I think age of majority is now 18. The voting age is 18, So it is important that we inculcate the good values. What is not simply electing, is choosing. In the election, the choosing is important. So, we must inculcate to our young that it is going to be their representative, the people who will speak for them, who will draft policies for them, and for their good. So I don't think we should object to this age of 18, even though at the initial stage, I said, good God, can we actually manage the very volatile, young? I remember myself at 18. I was very anti-establishment. And I think I want to change the world. Ultimately, as I grow older, the world changes me, the world changed me. So I think it's good that we must focus on our education system so that the 18s will act with responsibility. They know what is the responsibility and the choice. Don't talk about electing. Let us say, in making choice, you have got a responsibility, you have got accountability. So choose rightly. It is important for you to choose rightly. Nothing wrong with the age group. So you need to have the young. Otherwise, we will not be moving forward. So it's good. We have made the right move, but now it's for us to manage all those young people so that they will be able to feel that a sense of belonging, the sense of ownership to this country, so that they don't go wild. Like even the old can go wild. Okay.
The old goes wild.
Don't think that it is peculiar to the young.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, really, what you just said. The old goes wild. Okay. Well, probably it's because the old has gone through more.
Ada pepatah Melayu. They saying, I have eaten salt earlier than you.
Yeah.
Therefore, I know better. I think this know better should be stopped.
Yeah.
It is nothing, you don't know everything. So there are certain areas you don't know. That's what I meant, but the old also can go wild. I meant that don't think that we know the solution for the young. We must consult them. So there is a need for us to be able to understand and talk their language. Their language is different from my language. Even if you look at in the world of AI, in the world of IT, the language is entirely different. Even the mannerism is different. The adab has already changed. So how do we adjust? How we adjust it? And then with the social media that develop its own language. In my time, you cannot say diorang. It's wrong. Now the new languages, the new languages that the young use, so how do we fit into this? And don't forget, the majority of our people below 40,
Yes. Yes.
So how do we satisfy this group? We must be, you must lead by example, not, you must walk the talk. You cannot talk and you don't walk it. And if you talk about corruption, say for example, if you talk about, I go back to corruption, sorry, Kim, you must not practice. It's important that you have got very strict rules and regulation about it, so that people can think, yes, he says it, but he practices it. That's why I say that knowledge, most important knowledge, is not knowledge as concept, but the application of that knowledge, how you apply to real life situation.
Yeah, I agree, TSri. Especially looking at the sort of the waves and the trends of how people are voting. The recent Johor elections is quite interesting as well. So TSri being from North and South, I thought that's a very good diverse background, Penang and Johor. Well, what are your thoughts about these different states and their mentality? What is driving them? Like, what's the psyche behind?
I think in all of us, there is that important element. We want order. We want stability. So when you put order and stability on the top of it, then you tend to forget about the values, the qualities. So you say, okay, for the time being, we need this. We need very badly. So as a result of it, you see the Johor election as well as the Melaka election. So it demonstrates people's fed upness, if I can use that word, that there is too much politicking. There is too much people. When you politic too much, you put self above your interest of the nation. And what are we talking about national interest if we put ourselves is more important than the national interest? National interest is mean the people. People are not getting what they deserve to get. So I think it is important for us to be able to show them we want people whom you want as our electorate. We want leaders who will show that their interest is not for self, not for their position, but their interest is they want to be able to deliver and manage the country that will bring good to the people. Rakyat paling penting. Jangan jawatan paling penting. We don't want position, status important, but the people is not important at all.
That is so
Not
interesting.
confusing you with my idealism.
Yeah, that's why if you notice, right, like the criminal cases in US, it's always the people versus so and so. In Malaysia, it's kerajaan.
Malaysia,
I like,
they use
yeah,
DPP,
PP, yes,
P or
PP.
PP, to. But I think the criminal system is the same, but it's the delivery of that system that is important. So that is why you need to have a team or group of judges that will act on the basis of law and justice. Then we have got our safeguards. Our safeguard are the judiciary. Judiciary, they are the protector of our law as well as our constitution. So they must, if they do their work and they are given, there is no interference with what they are doing, then you promote them to be respected, you protect the institution, inshallah, our country will be the best in the world.
Absolutely, I fully agree on that. If only everyone could have similar mindsets, but of course, there's always diversity of thoughts, Tan Sri. Okay, I think we are about 20 more minutes to go until 1 p.m. I'm looking at the trend of questions at the chat box, Tan Sri. We'll probably share a few because you've actually answered quite a number of it already. There is one quite interesting tongue-in-cheek kind of question. We have had several governments over the past 2 years. And the classic slogan of separation of powers. Probably this is a personal view. It appears that none of these governments had the will to move the motion towards fruition of separation of powers. What's your view on this? Any suggestions to move this?
I think to suggest that there is no separation of powers is
dangerous.
is not totally right.
Yeah.
What I think the most important element or core element, fundamental element in separation of powers is the fact that there must be check and balances. It is important to have check and balances. You cannot have one body or one institution overpowering the others. That also will encourage people to act arbitrarily because if you are too powerful. So there must be check and balances. If you look at the fundamentals of separation of powers, the fundamental of separation of powers is check and balance. That is the core issue. If you've got a check and balance, but our public, this is my view may be wrong. Our public is over tolerant to so many things. When we are over tolerant, there is a tendency if people say, oh, I can enter a little bit, they don't disturb, they allow. Then they go in and in and in until such time that they overpower you. And then you start to complain, there is injustice, you have never, There are situations that we are not happy with. There are situations that we should be happy with. But ultimately, at the end of it, it is the people, the rakyat that must decide the form of the government that they want, the type of leaders that they want. People take the extreme view. I see some of the videos. Oh, you cannot trust the politicians to leadership. They have no idea about leadership. You tell me who have got ideas about leadership? There must be. The system has got politics. There is no system without politics. Even if you have no politician in political parties, so to speak, there will be people within an organization or institution that will make political decisions. There is politics in every organization, there is politics even in our NGOs also, there are politics of it, So I think what the question is really, I think you must look at it holistically. It's valid to put that, legitimate to put that type of question, but I think you must be able to be to look at it objectively and discuss what part of it is important, where we have failed, and correct those, and just don't have a carte blanche view, wholesale, and say everything is not right. we have no separation of powers. That's not true. You know, the fact that the cases now that is in court shows that the separation of powers are effective. So, you know, but at times there are problems, there are challenges, there are impediments, there are obstacles. But life is like that. I'm more a person who look at life in a very pragmatic way. There are problems, yes, but I will not give up. I will fight it out until we achieve what is best for us, what is good for us. You know?
Oh, that's really so good. We really love your optimism, TSri. Problem is, yeah.
That's why I'm out of government now.
Oh, you have to be always optimistic.
I think so, because
Yes.
otherwise you give up life.
Yes, absolutely. So earlier on, I thought that what you mentioned was quite interesting, TSri, about structural changes, and to have a mind for every one of us to think for ourselves. And then you mentioned about the education system of Malaysia that probably needs a little bit more fine-tuning. What are your thoughts, TSri? Because if I look at Malaysia holistically from a global point of view, we're actually quite blessed. We have a very diverse type of choices in Malaysia, if you will. We can choose to go to, different vernacular schools. We can choose to go for a kebangsaan system. We can also choose to go for private schooling. And we have all these great British universities now in Malaysia. We don't have to leave Malaysia to get a British education. And our local universities are all stellar. They are all on international levels, TSri. University of Malaya, UKM, UITM, IIUM, MMU, even the private ones like Sunway Taylors. So in a way, for our population, we're not very big. We're not as big a country as Indonesia, but we have all of these international names in our country. We also have good local universities. I don't know. We have choices now, TSri. So it's quite interesting. The education that you speak of, is it more of the beginning, the starting, primary one onwards, or the higher education part? I think we are very matured. We've got so many excellent choices, and we got twinnings as well. So we do 1 year, 2 years here, and then go to US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I think the most important thing is education is the content. What is the content of our sense of nationalism? What is the content of patriotism that we have? We do not want to have so many different systems. If all of us go in our diverse way, you can't live, you can have a diverse society, but you must live in a united that's why our slogan is unity in diversity. So the key point is, does that education system, teach them to be united, to think like a Malaysian, or we think in our own silos? We're living in our own silos, and this is important. I think when China, I was listening to the George Yeo, the minister from Singapore, when he was talking to the I think the University of Singapore School of Lee Kuan Yew. He was saying that he was talking on the subject of storms over the cloud, because of the current global situation. At the same time, he was describing about China. He said, why does China succeed? Because the Chinese, and he says this is no accident. The Chinese succeeded, according to him, because they have decided that they want to have a cohesive society or cohesive community. So China, through their planned policy, is 94% Hans. from the Hans community, because they can manage the Hans better, because they are Hans, they're more Hans, they manage the Hans better. So he said by doing that, it is, they are able to get the same values, the same. So I think that is for us to start writing when we have Vision 2020, say for example, in our vision, melahirkan bangsa Malaysia. You know, when you want to melahirkan bangsa Malaysia, you need to do a vision, plan and strategy of what is bangsa Malaysia. When you talk now, our theme is keluarga Malaysia, Malaysian family. It has got deep meaning. So we need to define, and this must be taught at a school level. So once you want to teach them at the secondary and the tertiary level, then it's too late. Then we will develop differently, you know. So I think so let us formulate something together. And I think there is always where we are at fault or we go wrong. We always look at other people as others. We don't look at ourselves as us. You look at how Singapore has built a nation. Of course, it's easier for Singapore because they have got one dominant ethnic group, you know, in Singapore. Ours is special. What we have achieved,
Very special.
we can be proud of. And you look at Indonesia. Indonesia has built a nation very well. Look at Thailand. They have built a nation very well. You know, nation building. Ours is still work in progress, but don't give it up. Don't give up progress and look at all the shortcomings, the negatives of it. Let us do our own narratives. If you want to copy, you don't copy with other people's narrative. If you want to replicate, you must replicate with our own narrative, with our own background, our own values, our own experience, our own civilizational influences. So I think by doing that, that's why I think it's good for us to be open in our discussion. At
Keep
the
our
same
conversations alive, yeah.
when you are open, at the same time, don't try to hurt and think that you are the only one right. Yours is the only right, you know, right formula. This is the only right cure. You know, Malaysia, you know, when you look at the Baba and Nyonya, I study about the Baba and Nyonya thing, how they have evolved the society, how it has come. You can see in your Baba and Nyonya, they speak Malay, makan Melayu, semua, but they are Chinese. You have got the streets Chinese. So all these things, I think we need to work together. I think in order to, there's so many things. I get excited when you discuss all these things. You know, you say I'm optimistic, but I think without optimism, Malaysia will go down. Let us have optimism, because we have to have optimism. It's difficult, but we will overcome. Take the Martin Luther King. We will overcome. We shall overcome.
Yes. Tan Sri, I think there's one comment here by one of the BGAM Exco, Sean Lim. It's quite interesting. It sort of resonates with what Tan Sri earlier on said, which is sometimes the older ones tend to get a bit wild. So this comment is, some older generation not really ready for politics, and they are quite swayed by unverified WhatsApp news.
He resonates what I said, but what to me is that sometimes the problem with people like us, the older generation, we think we know better. And we want to apply the formula that we used to apply when society has changed. Things around us have changed. You cannot apply the same thing. And, you know, to what, no, when we became independent, without the Tengku will not be, you know, will not be what we are today. You know, Tengku in 1957, I think fantastic accommodation, compromise, the way he looks at it lightly. You know? Then when his time goes, then you have to Raza. Then you have to Nusino. Then you have Mahathir. At that time, it may be acceptable, but you can't do the things that, you know, Mahathir did. And then when you have got after Mahathir, you have got I think Pak Lah. Actually, Pak Lah introduced a lot of changes.
Absolutely.
And people were not ready to manage those changes. So we have got in a and then we come in this sixth one. Some of the economic policies under Najib is good, but they have done a lot of good economic policies that they have done. But it's a question of what values, what are the constraints, what is your function as a government? All these things have to be looked at, and we become so relaxed that until we reach a stage, hey, I think there's something wrong. And we, at one time, we were not concerned. Malaysians were very happy with economic development. Everybody getting rich and wealthy. And they forget about governance, they forget about rule of law, they would forget about democracy. Oh, we let us enjoy all these things. And ultimately, you get into a problem.
Yeah, excess.
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 Human beings always have got a tendency of excess. That's why in Islam, we see that the best route, the best route is moderation. For you to take the middle course. Why he talks about the middle course? Being the middle course, you will look on both sides. Hey, am I going too much this side? Am I going, because in our case, we need to balance all the time. If you are Buddhist, say, for example, the Buddhists also have got a principle of balancing everything.
Right.
And you have got under the Chinese philosophy, whether it is Taoism, Confucius, or sort of thing. Or if you look at how Zanzu managed his management of things, it's all balancing all the time, creating equilibrium so that you not go overboard with what you want to do. I think that's what I look at it. But some of the old people must give their experience and let the young energize it in the way that the country is now. But don't apply the same old rule because it's already out of date, obsolete.
Wow. I think we can all agree that we're blown away by your thoughts. It's really very, so global and yet centers straight to the heart and what you really hope for a better Malaysia, TSri.
You make me want to cry,
Oh,
I feel very tearful when, it's a good country.
it is.
It's good for sharing. Remember that, it's good for sharing.
It is. We have to keep on keeping the conversations alive, TSri. So please don't, stay away. You have to keep in touch with Datuk Kamaruddin. And then we need to reinvigorate these conversations further because your wealth of expertise and experiences is so important. I think there are a couple of questions in the chat box which are sort of answered. Some are quite controversial.
So,
I'm not too sure
what are they? I don't look because Gary told me not to look, or I think not to look at the chat. So I depend on you. You can bring up anything. I think that, we may agree to disagree. We may have different views, but that's what made us.
Yes, I've summarized some and forwarded to Kim in your WhatsApp. Yeah, Kim, you can have a look also.
Yeah, Gary has summarized. Excellent.
Yeah, I'll forward those have not been addressed. Yes.
I think probably there's what are your thoughts about TSri, about things like parliamentary proceedings?
I was a parliamentarian from 1990 to 2013. 1990 to 2013, 5 terms. And then I was a minister from 1990 to 2009. But you see, you have to look, people who are members of parliament must look at parliament as an honorable institution. That is important. It's not a house for you to practice jokes or to practice, your own whim and fancies. You must be able to look at it. This is the people's forum. You must seriously address those things. If I want to have circus, then I put you outside parliament. So I think I'm very sad to see the way that we have gone, in my view, I may be wrong, we have actually gone downhill, and then we do not follow the Erskine and May, how parliamentarian should conduct, the experience of others, then we can be, but don't forget, even parliament in Taiwan can be a boxing match, they throw, they throw shoes at each other. So parliament sometimes, but the person who preside over parliament must be a person who can control the proceeding. I was in charge of parliament in during my early days when I joined the government. I have a wonderful old man, Tun Zahid, who was the Speaker of Parliament. If anything that he feels, then he will write a note to me. Don't you think that this is any? And if he thinks that it should be, everything should be put in check, then we use the parliamentary standing order in order to do the checking. But member of parliament must memorize the standing order, must respect the standing order, must not think that they are cleverer than the speaker. But the speaker also must be judged and fair to make sure once you are speaker, you cannot be partisan to any political party. You must be able to chair the meeting so that everybody have got an opportunity to express their views. After all, their views are people's view. It's not their, and so I think at present, while our parliament is very alive, but I think they have gone overboard in not honoring, the honorable, forum. And because of that, people ridicule it. People look low on it. I feel very sad that we allow this sort of thing to, So whether it's a right or wrong, people have been put in. Don't blame the parliamentarian. Blame the people. Electorate must, electorate must choose the right people. If you blind yourself, then you start to think that elephant can be many things. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Wow. That's very interesting, Hansui. There's also a question from Prabhakaran. Did you always see eye to eye with your father, especially in matters relating to what have been perceived by non-Malays as expressions of Malay ascendancy?
I think this person who ever asked the question did not read my father's speeches. He reads what other people portrays my father as. My father, he championed the Malay cause, yes, but not at the expense of the other races. My father was a guy who was responsible when UMNO was formed to tell the Malays that UMNO is a good platform for Malay nationalism, for gaining political power. But he was also the person that was asked by Tengku, and I think this Tun Sambantan say, Albar is always wrongly understood as an extremist when he is not. He was the person who was asked to go throughout the country to make the Malays accept to work together with MIC, MMCA. And he cannot be an extremist because of that. But if we look at Lee Kuan Yew version of him, Lee Kuan Yew is very good at portraying certain person in a certain way, and then in order to gain his own influence. And I saw the way that Lee Kuan Yew project the image. He can also be called chauvinistic because he wants, like in his campaign, he said, when he was in Malaysia, all of us, the non-Malays, the state is our thing. We are stronger than the Malays. You should read all Lee Kuan Yew, and I got a book by Michael Barr. Michael Barr say that, Lee Kuan Yew is very, there is a tendency that we put in it. My father, when I am with him, he's a fantastic man, not because he's my father. You will say you're prejudiced because you're my father. He was your father. No, he sits down with us. Every time when he is free, he will be sitting down in his master bedroom with my mother, father, and all the siblings, and he will be propagating how to build Malaysia. So I think a lot of the story, untold story about him, so they portray him as an ultra, as in him. But he was never an ultra. And his member, his state assemblyman, for your information, in Kota Tinggi when he was an MP, his state assemblyman was a Chinese in a 90% Malay area.
Wow.
So, I mean, is understanding the inside. I never, my father is, to me, was the source of inspiration, because, you must remember that we are a family very, very mixed. We have influences from all kinds of ethnic groups. So nobody who is Chinese Indian parentage. I've got my grand uncle who married a Chinese lady. So because the Hadramis, for your information, we are called Hadramis. I don't know why I didn't even know that. The Hadramis, we are so mixed because of that. If you look at Singapore, the ID in Singapore, whether in Penang or in Singapore, all their wives are mostly Chinese. So it's impossible for these sort of people who have got the heritage that we claim our heritage from the Prophet to be extreme. But they will be extreme in other things, but not my father. I don't think so. So I'm sorry if, thank you for the question, because it gives me an opportunity to speak. I think you made a legitimate, because there is the portrayal of him by local as well as in. I always see, Tun Tan Siew Sin coming to my house, talking to my father. I see T.H. Tan coming to my house. I see my father join Hong Leong, to become the chairman of Hong Leong. You can't see an extremist fellow, working in a very Chinese organization. So we get along quite well. But I hope, so it's not,
What are your thoughts on Sabah and Sarawak, Tan Sri? They are very special too.
What?
Yeah, what are your thoughts about these two? Because it looks like the politics or the disgruntled unhappiness is more focused on Peninsula.
No, I think what we should do, we must bring in Sabah and Sarawak. Sabah and Sarawak is an important part of our country. In the first place, there was a mistake that was made. Good that we have corrected that mistake. When they joined, you look at the agreement of Peninsula Malaysia, Persekutuan Tanah Melayu, bersama Sabah dan Sarawak. They are not like any other state. The whole of the federation, Sabah and Sarawak are all separate entities that join to form Malaysia. So, and then I think we tend to forget. Sometimes people say, oh, Sabah and Sarawak, seolah dia orang asing. They are not. They are part of us, an important part of us. And now, anyway, politically, they've got, I think, total about 56 seats or what. They've got a lot of seats. So they can actually shape and influence the whole of the Malaysian politics. So I don't think we should make them feel alienated or marginalized, because their development was slower than us. So now they are asserting their right, and they are asserting their right to development and also I think then we must accommodate them. How do we accommodate them so that we bring them together? Because I think Sabah and Sarawak is a beautiful country. They are more successful than us in some ways in integrating the races. They have done very well. So let us learn from their lessons also. There are lessons that we can learn from them. And I don't consider them as others. They are part of us, an important part of us. So I think the Semenanjung punya orang, Kena
Mhm.
mula, has to think differently. Have to think differently. Sabah and Sarawak, if I'm in Sabah and Sarawak also, they are very rich states, and they have got, their people are very well educated also, and they have
Yes.
got beautiful country from resources, country, tourism product, everything, and the people are very, very, very friendly,
Oh, yes.
very nice. I always enjoy when I go to Sabah, Sarawak, whether it is the food or it is the company. And I think it's just wonderful. So, you enjoy your differences, Kalau dalam bahasa Malaysia ni, enjoy your differences lah.
Ya, betul.
Everybody, is a good, something that we need to do together, and we will be better if we do that together. Sorry
Thank
if I
you so
created
much.
headache for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, TSri. I think we have passed 1 p.m., 10 minutes over already. We have actually covered quite a number of the questions that was asked, because in essence, you've shared your thoughts, your views on how we can actually make a better Malaysia on our part. What would be your key takeaway today, TSri, to all of us, seeing that, there's probably a coming GE coming up, either this year or next year?
I'm not going to talk politics. I think let us think Malaysians.
Yes, absolutely.
So if I think after 65 years, it's about time that we should mature ourselves into one nation. One nation, one family, for us to work together. Let us share all the problems, challenges, let us share the difficulties, and let us overcome them as one. So that's my thought. And let us build on our hopes of the future on the young. Let us focus on the young. Let us focus on the women. Then we'll be safe.
TSri, when you
Thank
say
you
like
very
this,
much for
you
giving me
have the votes of the
opportunity.
women already.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a very nice conclusion by this lady, Fontaine Fong. Thank you, TSri, organizers, and Kim for the good session. We cannot control the political environment, but we can start with ourselves. We can start with ourselves. Let's always remain in close contact. I think BGAM is doing a really great, excellent job under our leadership of
I congratulate them.
and all the expos, because these are the conversations we should keep alive in moderation and in optimism, and to see how we can together in unity develop Malaysia into a stronger, better nation. And we should always be so happy and proud that we are Malaysians, and we're so excited to be calling ourselves Malaysians, TSri. So with that, we end our Merdeka talk. I will pass back the floor to Gary. I would like to take this opportunity and honor to say congratulations as well to TSri, the barrister, scholar, banker, economist, statesman, teacher, philosopher, and jurist. A big hand to you.
Don't give me too much.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Did such a marvelous job. Let's all of us give a round of applause to Kim as well. Yay. Right. Thank you. That was a great session. Thank you, TSri, for sharing so much, and also highlighting some of the key, concerns of our members and also our guests, and I believe also Malaysian as a whole, because all of us want a better Malaysia, and then some disappointments and mismatch of expectations, and we want to hear from a statesman like you, and which actually reaffirm and confirm to us some of our thoughts as to how we can be better. So we truly appreciate your kind sharing this afternoon, TSri.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so we are coming towards the end of the segment. So for those of you who are British graduates and haven't joined us as a member yet, so I take this opportunity to invite you to join us, because eventually as a pandemic and the endemic, move towards a recovery to a norm, whereby we are no longer concerned about the virus, we will start to have more face-to-face event organized by BGAM, as we have done in the past where we have a regular fellowships among British graduates members. And also on and off, we will have a royal gala dinner with our patrons and also some of the corporate leaders. So those of you who are interested to join, feel free to drop a line to whoever invited you, because Fu did a great job, invited a lot of you, and then our EXCO also invited some of you. So feel free to contact us and be a member. And since Tan Sri is also now officially a member of BGAM, so he will, hopefully grace our future events as well. One of the comment I saw in the chat box is like, people love your sharing today. They even suggested a part 2 for Tan Sri to share more about, your thoughts to all of us. So perhaps we can keep that as a plan for future talks. We shall re-invite Tan Sri back. Okay, Dato' Kamaluddin, would you like to say a word before we end? Okay. All right. So that's all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tan Sri.
Thank you very much.
A great Merdeka celebrations and have a great week ahead. And all of you stay safe. And we look forward to meeting all of you again. Right. Take care and bye-bye. So
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Press.
Merdeka, happy Merdeka.
Happy Merdeka.
Happy Merdeka.
Thank you all. All right, take care. So I shall end this Zoom segment. Thank
Well
you.
done, Gary.
Yes.
Well done. It's the good of this one. I think participants reaching 300, nearly reaching 300. I think.
Yeah. Even towards the end, we have 200 plus still in the room. So great. Thank you all for staying on.
It's good.
All right.
So probably I'm just thinking loud. I'm discussing with Kim. Probably the next one we are planning to get the former Chief Justice to be our
guest speaker.
Guest speaker. So Kim, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
So we checked Tun's available date.
Yeah.
And then organize. He would have
which Chief Justice? There's so many before. Which one? Is it Tan Sri Abbas?
No. The last, the previous one.
Oh, which one?
I
Arifin Zakaria.
Yeah. I don't know Tun Saleh Abbas.
Unfortunately,
Saleh Abbas is
if I'm not mistaken, Tun Saleh Abbas has passed.
Passed away, yeah.
Oh, it passed away. Sorry, I didn't know. Which one you're talking about?
Just not mention was Tan Sri Arif, right?
Yeah. So is this Stephen Fang alma mater. The school from Kelantan.
Fellow Kelantanese.
Fellow Kelantanese.
With Stephen.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting for our Tan Sri. Yeah. He's very open about it. In fact, I thought I don't want to delve with his father. His father is known as singer UMNO. Singer UMNO Lion. But as we listen from him, I think he's really fair man, all that. Yeah. So anyway, Kim and Gary, thank you very much. And also Fu, because your hard work also, you have quite a number of participants. Yeah. So we keep it up. And then probably if others want to say something while we are here, other members, just unmute yourself.
They can't, so let me do the setting, because earlier I've made the setting.
Because we still have about 90 people here.
All right, so
you unmute everyone. You let everybody.
Unmute everyone. Yeah.
One moment.